The picture of Caitlyn, Bruce Jenner, became public yesterday afternoon, and there it is. There she is, Caitlyn. Good for her. She's happy. This is not a huge surprise. We were anticipating this.
Right. I mean, after the Diane Sawyer interview, we kind of all expected this was going to happen at some point. But all of a sudden, when you saw that picture of her, I mean, it looked like old Hollywood. I thought it was kind of reminiscent of Julia Roberts. It's a gorgeous picture of Caitlyn.
You confused her for Julia Roberts at first.
I did.
All right, now Caitlyn spoke to the Vanity Fair publicity team. The picture, by the way, quite been by Annie Leibovitz, the famous photographer who's done a lot of work for Vanity Fair. Listen to Caitlyn.
Bruce always had to tell a lie. He was always living that lie. Every day, he always had a secret from morning till night. Caitlyn doesn't have any secrets. As soon as the Vanity Fair cover comes out, I'm free.
Okay, that's a heavy statement. So we're trying to get to know Caitlyn a little bit better. With us this morning is gossip columnist Perez Hilton, Hollywood Life founder Bonnie Fuller, and Hannah Elise Simpson, who is a trans woman who's also given us her perspective earlier this morning. Nice to have you all here on Good Day New York.
Thank you.
All right, so what do we think, starting with you, Perez?
Well, I think it's just groundbreaking. Like last night I was on a major network, major cable news. The fact that the first 2 segments were dedicated to a transgender woman, like that has not happened before. You know, we're having conversations in the media and also in households, which is probably more effective for change.
So are we happy with the picture, Bonnie? What do you think about what kind of reaction are you getting on HollywoodLife.com?
On the photos, absolutely fantastic. Caitlyn looks beautiful. She looks glamorous. And what's most important is that she's presenting herself the way that she wants to be seen. And we've had an absolute, totally positive reaction. People are just cheering. And I thought it was just so wonderful that our president, Barack Obama, took to Twitter to celebrate her courage.
So everything's great. Everybody's accepting. But Hannah, I want to ask you, it can't be, I'm guessing, entirely smooth sailing from this point out. It is a challenge in America, correct me if I'm wrong, to be transgender, even though it's 2015 and a celebrity has done it first or most prominently.
So that's completely true. This is a starting point for her, a beginning to her journey, and there's so much further that she has yet to go, things that she's going to be experiencing again for the first time as a woman, ways that she's going to interact with the world, and it's beautiful, but it's also a little bit bewildering. And there's so many things that you just have to do that are totally different, like buying shoes or buying a bathing suit. It's a totally different thing. There's no comparison whatsoever, and you just have to try those things again, and you just have to live each day. But I think what she's really proving is that at 65, it's never too late to start living each day anew.
You know, I think it's wonderful. The family seems very supportive. The kids seem very supportive. But I'm still concerned for them. I mean, this was their father. When you say father, it has a male connotation. So now what do you call your father?
Well, Kylie Jenner has said that she has actually tweeted that he's my angel, or she's my angel. And
so you call her Angel now?
Well, I think what it shows is the level of acceptance of the family, that they are so happy. I mean, all of the girls tweeted and Instagrammed their support yesterday, and of course his older children, his 4 older children, have been very vocal.
Yeah, Brody said now he kind of understands why his father wasn't around all those years, right? I don't know if that was the reason, but...
Well, what seems to be terrific is that Caitlyn is saying that she's a better person than Bruce, and it has a lot to do with how she feels as a parent, and that this is allowing her to get closer to her 4 older children.
All right, Perez, the Kardashians and Bruce Jenner, and now Caitlyn. Big business as well.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things I took away from the article, was how completely honest Caitlyn was, saying, I'm doing this to inspire people to live for myself, and also I'm going to document it on a TV show because I've got mortgage to pay. Yeah. You know, he is living his life authentically, honestly, and with a sense of humor. You know, despite this all, he's not making it so serious. Sorry, yeah.
Well, I think, well, you know what, it's
a process for everybody. Going brain thing, Bruce. Right. Now it's Caitlyn. You know. And it's a period of adjustment for the public, too.
And I like the transgender community, I think, quite frankly, has been great. They've cut us some slack when we, quite frankly, we're still figuring out the guidelines and the rules. Hannah, you've cut me some slack this morning. I expect you to continue to cut me some slack. But you know what we're talking about. We're all kind of still becoming acquainted with all these issues.
Well, I think the idea is to realize that they're not as big an issue as people make it out to be. And we need to start with this from people early on.
Issues, we'll call them niceties then. Niceties, etiquette.
Well, I think the trans community is saying gender is more than just male and female. Nobody's saying when you come home with your newborn baby that you can't celebrate it being a boy or a girl, but just that 6 years later, 16 years later, 65 years later, that gender identity might shift and evolve in different ways, and that's okay too. But when you bring that baby home, somebody teaches you how to put that baby in the car seat and the car seat in the car, because there's a small chance that just might save your baby's life. We need to teach gender identity, diversity, as well as sexual orientation for precisely the same reason.
Let's talk about the name Caitlyn. So it has the k sound for the Kardashian to fit in the Kardashian family, but it's with the C. So is that a message?
No, actually, at Hollywood Life, we learned that this has been a favorite name for Caitlyn since the 1980s, even when
I thought Heather was the name at one point. Remember the second wife said that he wanted to be known as Aunt Heather.
Well, maybe she had different favorites, but this was a name that she had liked going back for many years, and didn't want to do a K because one on her own. And also, I believe it's Brody's girlfriend is also Caitlyn, and she spells it with a K. And apparently they've joked around in the family about this, but this is how they'll tell them apart.
Perez, work with me on this one. There are people who are curious. I heard at a conversation last night, like, okay, how far along is Caitlyn in this process? Anatomically, what's going on? I kind of understand the question, but I also understand that you're probably not supposed to ask the question directly to Caitlyn, unless Caitlyn indicates that it's okay.
Well, also, it's not, gender, as Hannah would say, is not about genitalia. And Caitlyn chose to open up to Vanity Fair, but it was her decision to do that. And I personally wouldn't ask somebody that because, not everybody can afford to go through gender reassignment surgery. And actually, that's a big issue for so many people. And also, not everybody can afford then to pass. Like, Bruce had a whole squad, Caitlyn had a whole squad to make herself look so glamorous and beautiful. And there's a lot of struggles that different transgender people face that this is a great conversation to have, because maybe if you don't pass as the gender that you are now living as, you face a lot of discrimination. I mean, transgender youth have the highest suicide rate of any group in America. So the fact that now they're able to see people like themselves on television, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of Caitlyn. In July, she's getting a big award at the ESPYs, the Arthur Ashe Award. So I'm excited for that as well, and for everything to come. And the docuseries, and it's not only her docuseries on E! Caitlyn has her own docuseries, but also on TLC, we're going to be seeing the story of Jazz Jennings, this teenage transgender girl. I mean, this is a monumental year, and it all began for me last year with Laverne Cox on the cover of Time. I mean, such progress has been made in 12 months.
Maybe Caitlyn should consider running for president as a Republican. Everybody else is.
Let me ask you something. I was with friends last night. We were discussing this. And while it's wonderful Caitlyn has come out and there's lots of talk about transgender issues, does it kind of like usurp or overshadow the issues that gay men and women have to deal with now? Because it seems like transgender is getting so much attention.
No, I think it's a very positive thing for for people who are transgender and who are gay.
Because it's not the same thing.
No, it's not, but it brings the discussion again out into the open.
Your take on this, Perez? I gotta get you.
Don't you think
one of my favorite things is that the Caitlyn story is so tied to the story of family. And, for me, marriage equality, it's inevitable. The next thing is about family equality for all families, being able to adopt legally in every state, not being discriminated against because you have gay parents.
Right. And you have 2 children, right?
2 now, yes.
Oh, good for you,
How
Perez.
is that? Are you
amazing?
Are you exhausted?
Yes.
One thing that was funny in this debate, or not debate, but episode in American culture, when he came out as a Republican to Diane Sawyer, and the backlash that he received on Twitter about that was was
more than anything else, right?
Yes, amusing when we consider like that should be, quite frankly, tolerated and accepted and encouraged as well. Thought.
Well, the Republican Party is notoriously anti-LGBT.
It's a little too extreme a statement. I mean, the big hat, log cabin Republicans, big tent. There's debate and
I mean, but
room
just
in the
this
Republican.
year, we saw in states like Arkansas all these laws being passed trying to take rights away from
Bruce doesn't live in
LGBT.
Arkansas, neither do we. But anyway, great conversation. Finally,
Just to say, you know, there are as many political parties out there as there's as many genders out there as there are political parties. Two in our country just make a whole lot of noise and the others get overshadowed. And I think what Bruce is really hearkening to is the libertarian end of the Republican Party, which is saying, you know what? I am being myself, and you don't really need to be in my bedroom. You don't really need to be in my head. And this is how I'm expressing myself. And that's really what this country was founded on. Government can't legislate emotion, but what it can do and what it has to do and what it has started doing from 1776 onwards is protect the rights of minorities.
and fix the 2nd Avenue subway.
Bonnie, what do you think the story is today?
I think the story today is about acceptance and discussion, and this is going to open the door, as we've said, for families, and perhaps in the coming election, this will open the door to discussion about rights, gay rights, LGBT rights, rights for everybody, and that everybody deserves in our Constitution to have those same rights. So I think it's a great starting point.
Perez, you hear anything on the internet today about
Everything. I mean, Caitlyn is breaking records on Twitter, almost at 2 million followers right now.
Wow.
Broke President Obama's record.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay.
All right, well, we enjoyed having you guys. Hannah, Perez, really
Bonnie.
good stuff. Bonnie Fuller of Hollywood Life. Nice to see you all.
Great to see you.
All right, the conversation continues online.